Today I have a Pioneer DEH-P7300. I'll be going through the specific audio features of this head unit instead of doing a full overview. I find that this head unit is very similar to the Pioneer DEH-P7400 MP that I just went over. So I thought about just going through the detailed settings in this head unit, explaining what they do. And this one definitely has some cool animations. I have the radio turned on right now, trying to find something that's uncommercial, just to avoid a copyright claim. So there's a Spanish station. If you're anywhere near LA and you speak Spanish or have some Spanish speaking parents, you'll probably recognize that radio station. But on this left side, we have the EQ button, and you can cycle between natural, vocal, flat, or custom, 1 and 2, flat, super bass, and powerful. I'll just leave it on flat for now, or custom. So here's the audio settings. We have fader, and if you push left or right button, it'll change the balance. You have a 3-band parametric EQ. You can choose between raising or lowering the low band, the mid band, or high band. Here's the bass and treble adjustment, loudness, subwoofer control, the subwoofer low pass filter, high pass filter, the automatic sound level, and back to balance and fader. So with balance, if you hold it left, that means that the audio will come out of the left channel only. If you hold it all the way right, you get audio out of the right channel. If you hold the up arrow, it'll put all the audio to the front outputs. If you hold it down all the way, you'll only get output from the rear outputs. With the EQ, you can raise or lower the levels here. With these bass and treble settings, it's a little bit different. So you can choose the frequency on the bass and treble. And what it does is it'll actually raise or lower all of the frequencies that are at that setting, at that set frequency. And you can raise or lower all of those frequencies at the same time. So this is in addition to the parametric EQ that adjusts at a certain frequency. This one will take all of the frequencies from the setting and either above or below and boost them. So in this example, everything from 6.3K and up will get raised or lowered. However, if I go to the EQ and I hold the audio button, I'm in the high band. I can choose to raise or lower the 8K frequency, or I can choose to adjust the 8K frequency with a narrow or wide Q factor. And then when I go to my 3-band equalizer, I can raise or adjust that 8K frequency. And it'll, depending on your Q factor, also raise or lower nearby frequencies. For the loudness, it just takes all of the upper and lower frequencies and boosts them somewhat. And you can tell by that graphic how much is getting boosted. For the subwoofer, you can turn it on or off, and then you can also change the phase. And at the low pass filter, you can adjust the frequency and then lower the output as well of your subwoofer. The high pass filter allows you to turn on and adjust the frequency. And for ASL, what this does is if the radio detects road noise or anything like that, via a microphone that there's an input for in the back, it will either raise or lower the volume of your radio automatically. So going in detail for the equalizer, this is the low band, and you can choose the frequency and then choose the width or narrowness of that band. And then when you go into the actual equalizer, you can raise or lower your audio output at that frequency that you set here. The mid band can do the same as well. Here's the frequency options. And same thing for the high band like I explained earlier. Now to access the kind of setup menu, you would turn off the head unit by holding power or holding source, and then hold the function button. And you can adjust the clock. I noticed that if you push any other button other than function or these arrows, it will turn the unit back off. So I have to make sure to only push these few buttons. The warning tone lets you know when the radio gets powered off. So if you want that on or off, you can set that here. Here's the auxiliary input. And if you want to turn that on for any of those IP bus adapters for Bluetooth or an aux cable like headphone jack, anything like that, you can plug that into the back. But this has to be on to use that. The dimmer, if you have the dimmer lead ran to your car, then you can have the radio dim its brightness based on your headlights being turned on or off. The overall brightness can be turned down or turned up. So with this setting, the SW or subwoofer, this is for the rear speaker output leads. So if you have this at full, you'll get a full range signal being sent out through your rear speaker outputs. And that's if you're going to run that wire to some rear shelf speakers or anything like that, then you would use it on full. If you set it to SW or subwoofer, that means that it will have the low pass filter applied to it. And it claims in the manual you can run a subwoofer to these rear outputs, but I wouldn't try it, not with any subwoofers made nowadays. But at least the signal will have that low pass filter, and you can do that, have that run to a line output converter for an amplifier or something like that. And then the subwoofer control. So if you push full, or if you go to subwoofer and then push, no, if you're at full and then you push the left or the right button, it'll go to subwoofer control. This is to either activate or deactivate the subwoofer controls in the head unit. EXT means external, INT means internal, so you can use the internal subwoofer controls. If I set it to external and then exit out of here, and I go to the audio settings, it changes this to non-fader, and you can turn this on or off. So that means that it's gonna be a on or off switch for the rear outputs. And then you can adjust the level of your subwoofer here. So if you want to control your subwoofer, like low pass filter and level and all that, you would want to choose internal. Then Intel 1 indicates if you want to use a telephone. So there is like a headphone style jack that allows you to connect the telephone signal. And then telephone 2 allows you to mute. And then the last audio setting that's kind of confusing or different about this is the EQ button on the right. So I'll go ahead and push that. And what that does is, if you set it to front 1, it will boost the treble in the front outputs and boost the bass on the rear outputs. And the H means that it's going to have a bigger effect, and the L means a lower effect. The front 2 setting means that it'll raise the treble and bass on the front channels, but the rear channels will only have the bass boosted. And the H and L is the same thing, it's just a higher or lower effect. Or you can do a custom setting, and then the left or right will indicate your listening position, and you can choose whether the left or right will be favored in those settings. So those are the main audio settings. And lastly, I'll just finish this off with the entertainment videos, because different generations of Pioneer head units do have different animations. So I'll just finish off with the ones that are available for this head unit generation.
Here I'm testing the green speaker outputs. Here I'm testing the gray speaker outputs. Here I'm testing the white speaker outputs. They work. Here I'm testing the purple speaker outputs.